Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Volume 2 of the Spanish Fork RoadShow. Glad to have you back with us. And gentlemen, thanks for joining me again.
You're back.
I think it was fun enough last time that you're back for more.
That's right.
So, we're really excited to share with you some of our project updates. As you know, if you watched Volume 1 of the RoadShow, we started this just to show some of the things that we were doing as far as traffic to help with the congestion that we all face in town. We know that's a big issue for many of us, and one of the top issues from the annual survey that we had. So we're going to talk about some of the projects that we have done and are currently in the process of. Yes, it's going to get worse before it gets better, but there's some reasons as to why we're doing the things we're doing, how we're working with UDOT, and so we're going to talk about some of those projects today. So first, let's start with maybe what's being talked about the most right now, the removal of some stop signs that have been there for years and years on 1150 East by Larson Elementary. And we did those really to make it safer, but a lot of people don't understand how we could possibly make it safer by taking some stop signs away. So Chris, tell us about the process and why we took those stop signs out.
Thanks, Nick. We really want to talk a little bit about the reason why we removed the stop signs on 1150 East. A lot of times people think a stop sign makes an intersection safer, but we found that that's not always the case. Dylan, will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So here at the city, we've performed plenty of studies on our own intersections, of course, and then we also are up to date as much as we can be on all of the research that's done nationwide on stop signs. And what we find is that when a stop sign is not warranted per the standards, the national standards that we follow, the stop sign becomes less safe than other solutions because people become accustomed to never needing to stop. This is a great example of a location where that's the case. 1150 East has traffic north and south all day long, right? I've been talking to some of our neighbors and residents over there, and they'll tell me all day long it's got traffic on it. It's a collector road for the city. It's an important route for north and south traffic. However, on 300 South, the intersecting road, we don't have very much traffic at all. And in terms of pedestrian traffic, we really only see pedestrians here during school hours, where the school children are crossing the road. So this is a great location, an example of a location where the cross traffic is rarely present. And so people rarely need to stop to allow them to come through. And what that causes is drivers who live over there and drive it every day become comfortable with it. And they realize, I don't really need to stop fully because there's never anything to stop for, right? And the only thing less safe than no stop sign is an ignored stop sign, right? Because everyone else is expecting you to stop, but you don't stop. So we find that those unwarranted stop signs can be dangerous for those reasons.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the safety of the school children. That's very important to us. You have also found that by doing what we're doing now, it's actually more safe for the children than having a stop sign. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So the school children and their safety was actually the driving force behind this decision. That was the main reason we chose to make this change. And the reason is this. I won't give exact detailed numbers because those don't matter very much. But we find that it's around 60% compliance at a stop sign that's not warranted. In other words, at this location, about 40% of people aren't coming to a full stop, and that creates a dangerous circumstance for pedestrians. However, what we have done to improve the safety of pedestrians at this intersection is we have installed three things. One, the beacons, the flashing lights where you push the button and the lights flash and they stop traffic right at the crosswalk. Two, we've installed the flashing lights that create a reduced speed school zone during school hours. It slows it down to 20 miles per hour. And three, we are maintaining a crossing guard at this location that stops traffic by force, right? And then make sure that it's safe for the kids to cross.
What's the compliance on that versus a stop sign?
When we do all three of those things per our studies, and then another big study that was done here in the state of Utah on similar roads, we find over 99% compliance rates with the crosswalks when we do these three things, which is far and away better than the stop signs that we already had there.
So believe it or not, it's actually a lot safer with these three implemented signs and zones, school zones, and a crossing guard than with the stop signs before.
That's correct. And it's important to note when we talk about these things, nothing we can do at a crosswalk eliminates all risk, right? There are still vehicles, there are still school children. Whenever you mix those two things, it could be a recipe for disaster. So it's never 100% safe. What we do is we limit the amount of incidents that could be dangerous. Does that make sense? We do our best to make sure that even irresponsible people are accounted for. Right, and that way we're creating a safer environment for the school children.
That's great. That's great. Why did we do this now instead of at another time?
Well, we try to do any changes like this that are near schools. We try to do it when school's not in session is the main thing, right? And we do it at the start of the summer so that everyone around here that drives through this intersection gets used to how it is now before school starts again in the fall. So we've got the whole summer for everybody to get used to how this works. And then when school starts, we'll have all those three things that we talked about earlier operating and providing that safe area.
Now, this is the fourth type of stop sign situation near a school that we have taken out over the last several years, and we kind of have a process in place in doing that. Can you discuss that just a little bit?
Yeah, so the first thing we'll do after we get our studies done and we decide what our best course of action is, we'll make sure that we are working with the school district for one. We want to make sure that what we're seeing is what they're seeing, because these are the people who are there every day with the school children, right? So we'll work with the school and the school district, and then once that's complete, we'll make our plans to implement these devices we've talked about. We'll deploy them here in the start of summer. We'll let them sit and operate through the summer, and then when fall starts, those are all up and running.
How's this worked in the other three locations?
So far, we've had extremely good results. Obviously, we can't control for every possible driver, but we found that those compliance rates that we talked about earlier are followed at our intersections. We see above 99% of those vehicles stopping when they should, providing that time for the kids to cross. And the feedback that we've gotten from schools is generally positive as well. We found that safety hasn't gone down after we've done this at all. And in fact, most people tell us that safety seems to be even better than it was.
Thanks, guys. I think that's an awesome explanation. Let's jump to another project that I think everybody's eyes have been on as they've traveled on and around Highway 6 and 1000 North Expressway Lane. So I know we talked about how those projects are kind of all working together. What's the update on that, Chris?
Okay, so we're really excited for US 6 to be expanded. UDOT's doing that project. The city's doing a couple projects in conjunction with that to get ready for Target coming, and also to make our feeder roads into US 6 ready for when UDOT widens that. First of all, let's talk about Expressway Lane. Dylan, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Target coming in, and Target was one of the driving reasons why we chose to improve Expressway Lane now. Like we talked about in our first volume of the RoadShow, Target's a pretty popular place to shop, so we've been told, and we're worried about all the traffic that's going to come over here now. So the first thing that we did is we improved the intersection that's right there outside of the Target. So that's the one on Expressway Lane and what we call 800 North. It's a little bit misleading because 800 North has a curve in it right there. But that's the intersection right here that we're talking about, and we chose to add a traffic signal here and then widen Expressway Lane to accommodate more of this traffic that Target's going to cause. So we've been working on this project for about a year now, and we've got now completion of this project, and we have a good photo to show you here of what it looks like. So again, we've widened, we've added a couple of lanes there on that side of Expressway Lane closer to Target and Arby's. And we also have this traffic signal that's up and operating. Right now, Target's not done, of course, and so they haven't opened their side of that intersection yet, but everything else is open and working well. So we've been pleased with this project and how it's progressed. But we have another project further down on Expressway Lane. away from this location that we'll be also installing a new traffic signal. And this signal is meant to help traffic get into and out of the Canyon Creek area. And this will be at the intersection of Expressway Lane and Marketplace Drive. This intersection's been here for some time, but now it's getting too busy. So we're going to install this signal. From this photo here, you can see about where we're at. We're done with the foundations on the signal and some of the conduit that runs underneath the road. So as soon as we can proceed, we'll get the rest of the intersection completed. We'll get that traffic signal installed and turned on, and it'll be operating pretty soon.
This is an important intersection because it's with that road that goes right to Lowe's over here and Walmart over here. I think this could be a really good alternate for a lot of people to get to those two major destination places.
Exactly. It's an important back door to Canyon Creek. This way you don't have to get on US 6 to get into Canyon Creek, right? And that's a really important thing for our residents. So.
And when UDOT starts their project, you won't want to be on US 6 until they're done.
No. Now, one other thing that's being done across the street from Highway 6 is at 8th North and 8th East, we're doing some widening there. Jared, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about that. We've actually almost got this project done. We're going to add a lane to the north side of 800 North, right there along Maverick, and then adjust the island a little bit so we can add that turn lane back in next to Texaco. So this project's almost done. What we need to do is just do some temporary striping, and then we're going to overlay it, seal the road, and then do some permanent striping later this month into July. So that project's all but done if you get out there. So,
Oh, sweet.
This would be really good. A lot of times people get stuck right here if they're eastbound with that signal. And so adding a lane here where you can have a free right turn onto 800 East, I think that will benefit this whole intersection.
it's very important. Most people get impatient and they cut through the gas station, making everything unsafe. So we looked at this, we had it striped. We decided that we need to add that lane to the north so we can put that turn lane back in, and then we'll have two straight lanes through. One will be used to turn left onto US 6, the other one will be straight on through Expressway Lane.
This will be a great improvement, I think, of that area. The next project that we are doing in conjunction with the UDOT's US 6 project is a widening project on 10th North. Dylan, can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So 1000 North is another extremely important road for Spanish Fork in our commercial district. This is one of the primary ways to get into and out of Canyon Creek and get between the two sides of US 6. So that being said, our widening project here involves removing the medians that we currently have and installing a new thinner median down the center of the roadway. We'll also remove that traffic signal and no longer have the left turn that you make off of 600 East onto 1000 North. That one is one that isn't used as much as we might think. I use it from time to time, and I'm going to be sad that it's not there anymore. But it's not as used as the other lanes in that intersection. And so we decided, you know what, we are going to cut our losses there, make it a little bit faster and safer for everyone else that's going through on 1000 North, and widen that road. So that project is well along. We have already excavated the median that's been there. The traffic signal's gone. If you drive up there, it's kind of a different experience, but we'll hope to have construction on those items tied up here in the next month or two.
Yeah, this is really great. I love all of the work that's been done to get ready for this US 6 widening project. I like how all these projects are ahead of schedule, ahead of that work that's going to be done by UDOT. UDOT has been working really hard to get the right-of-way they needed to widen US 6, and they anticipate starting more towards the end of summer. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, they hope to start here at the end of summer, start of fall with some of the preliminary construction, and then next year they'll really jump in at the start of summer and get it all done by the end of next year. So
hopefully a lot of the work that's on the target side of US 6 will be done this year as Target opens, and then they'll switch to the other side next spring and during that time period.
They actually put the project out to bid here at the end of this month.
Okay,
So.
great. We now like to talk about Spanish Fork Parkway. This connection to State Route 51 is a very important connection for us. And Jared, you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we've been working on this project for years, and we're finally getting it to a point where we're almost going to finish that up this fall. Right now, we've got the utilities in, and the road is under construction. We plan on finishing up the construction here at the end of July, beginning of August. The state's going to install a signal right there at this intersection you can see on the screen sometime in August. And the railroad is actually working on the crossing itself right now, but the delay will be the railroad getting the railroad signal in. And they're anticipating that coming at the end of October, maybe even November, but we're pushing, trying to get them here as soon as possible. They're just backlogged on their work end and their equipment. They've committed to be here in November. We're trying to get them here sooner, but it looks like it will be November at the end of this year before that road's opened.
So the railroad has to come out twice. Once right now to put the concrete panels down, and then again in November to put the crossing arms in. Is that?
That's correct. The railroad's here currently right now in June putting the concrete panels in and improving the actual track in the railroad. And then we'll improve the road to that and pave it, and then they'll come back and install the signals.
Okay.
So a lot of moving pieces, and maybe a little longer wait than we were hoping for, but it will be done this year.
Yes, it will be done this year.
Great.
Take what we can get.
That's right. Now what we'd like to do is talk a little bit about 800 North and 400 East signal. And Dylan, you would like to discuss that signal and the progress that's going on there.
Yeah, this is one that we talked about in the first volume of the Roadshow as well as a very important intersection for our residents, both going east and west on 800 North and north and south on 400 East. So this signal is proceeding according to schedule. We are where we want it to be at this point. We've got the foundations in for that signal, and most of that conduit also is in. So we are hopeful that we will be able to finish this one in the next month or two. Right now, it's kind of crazy we're still talking about the pandemic shortages, but I guess there's a little holdup with our materials on that signal, and so we're hoping that we're going to get all of our steel for that signal in on time, but that might hold us up for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
We're going to add a lane on this road too, aren't we? A turn lane?
Yes, we are also going to add a right turn lane coming south on 400 East to turn right onto 800 North. So.
It's great. Now this signal is warranted right now. There's a lot of traffic here. This is a very dangerous intersection. This will really improve safety of this area immediately.
And make it easier to get in and out of Costco.
Yeah, this goes straight up. You can go to Costco on the left, or you can go to the Kneaders, Five Guys area on the right. So a lot of people will be glad to see this signal go in at 8th East and 4th North. Let's talk a little bit about Center Street now. On Center Street, we have two signals going in, one at 630 West and one at 800 East. Let's talk a little bit about the 800 East signal, Dylan.
Yeah, sure. This is another one that we talked about is very necessary for safety. We've got those 5 lanes on Center Street to cross if you're on 800 East, and it's kind of a dangerous one during that rush hour. So this is an important signal, and when we were doing a little bit of widening as well in the same way here to add a right turn lane coming south. Obviously, this project had a little setback, well, a couple of little setbacks, one that was circumstantial and one that was more of a mistake. But we are now progressing as we wanted to. We have 800 East all repaired and ready to go. It's been repaved and people are driving on it today, and it looks great. So we are moving forward with this one. We hope to have this signal completed within about a month.
Now there's some improvements to the pedestrian walkways in this area as well. ones that have been requested by some people maybe in the disabilities that have a wheelchair or something like that. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So with sidewalks and pedestrian ramps at intersections, one of the hardest things to deal with is when the road is on such a bad grade like Center Street is. It's quite the hill, and if you're in a wheelchair or on a scooter or any of those things, it can be difficult to stop and to make those movements into the intersection. So one thing that we did on the southeast corner of this intersection is we've been constructing an elaborate ramp, a pedestrian ramp that's got a switchback in it that provides those better grades to get down Center Street on. And then on the other corners, we've improved the existing pedestrian facilities so that they are better and closer to that standard that we want to meet, so that it's easier for everyone who uses the crosswalks and the sidewalks to get through the intersection.
Yeah, that would be good for people who are walking in that area. Let's talk a little bit about the 630 West signal that's going on Center Street over by the high school. Jared, will you talk about that one?
Yeah, it's another signal we're installing along Center Street. It's under construction right now. It's actually, you can hear the construction right now from outside the studio. So they're actually paving 630 West today. They're going to finish that up, and then we'll install the signal over the next couple of weeks and finish up striping the road and get that back open. This is a project that we've worked with the school district to install the signal. The school is going to be opening up not this year but next year, so we wanted to get ahead of that and make sure the signal was in place and the road was improved before the school opened. We're also building SFCN, as you can see in this picture, right to the left side of, or the west side of 630 West. It's one big project, and it's in anticipation of Center Street becoming a major road and connection through town.
So 630 West right here is a 5-lane road. That's really wide. Can you talk about why it's so wide?
So 630 West is 5 lanes from Center Street to Main Street. It's going to be a main collector road from Center Street all the way over to Main Street, in anticipation that this road will once connect to the I-15 interchange in years and years to come. North of Center Street, it'll just remain what it is, the 3-lane road to 4th North. So.
Maybe I can interject here on that interchange on I-15. You've probably seen some social media posts that there's a public comment period that's opening in just a couple of weeks, June 26th to July 26th, and some public meetings that are going to be held, a virtual one on June 26th and one in our library in the Heritage Room on June 27th. So there's a lot going on. They've started this environmental assessment process, which is the next step before a potential interchange is designed. So that's underway. They're working also with the transit study that's going on for Front Runner coming down to Spanish Fork. So this is all kind of in anticipation for that, and there's things moving along with those. I think we're going to get into the details next edition of the show, right?
Yeah, we're excited to talk a little bit about the Center Street interchange, and we really feel like this will be a major way to get to the freeway coming down Volunteer Drive, and once the Center Street interchange is in place. So a lot of great projects happening in the city going on right now. Let's move on to the next one just north of here, and that is the roundabout at 400 North and 300 West. Dylan, will you give us an update on that one?
Yeah, this is one that, we're actually a little bit delayed on. We've had a lot of projects in town at the start of the summer, and we were hoping to get this one started a little bit earlier, but we delayed it so that we could do it all at once, basically, and have it all done there at once. And so they're actually closing 400 North and 300 West at this intersection today. And they will have that closed for several months as they construct this roundabout. The plan that we are holding to is to have this roundabout fully built and ready for school to start this fall. So that is what we are going for, and I think that we'll hit that goal. But we've gotten quite a bit of feedback about this roundabout and some of our other roundabouts in town. And then people ask us why we bother with roundabouts. They're more expensive, they take a little bit longer to build, and people don't understand why the city chooses to do them. But we do it for the safety of our residents, for the pedestrians and for the vehicles who are traveling through these roundabouts.
UDOT just made a video about why roundabouts are safer and why they function a lot better in many instances. Let's go ahead and show that video now.
Roundabouts can seem kind of foreign to a lot of Utah drivers. I mean, in Utah, you might have stop signs or stop lights or, I don't know, yield signs or no signs at all. But check this out. We've had roundabouts in Utah for over 30 years. There's hundreds of these strange, not so strange, intersections all over the state. And they can go on a variety of roads. 1 lane, 2 lane, roads from 25 to 65 miles per hour. And they work surprisingly well in Utah, especially where safety's concerned. Here's why. On any road, you can imagine the paths that cars might take, and anywhere these paths touch, you get a conflict point, a potential crash. A 4-way intersection has 32 conflict points. And the worst kind of conflicts, the T-bone and head-on crashes, they're all crammed right in the middle. Roundabouts avoid these severe conflict points by going around them. And when we imagine the roundabout paths, there we go, we get 8 conflict points, from 32 down to 8. And since none of these conflict points are the super bad kind, even if there is a crash, it's a rear end or side-to-side crash, the less severe kind. In fact, a study of non-roundabouts that were later converted to roundabouts found that fatal and serious crashes were reduced by as much as 88%. And they're surprisingly simple to drive. Slow down, yield to vehicles already in the roundabout, and go when there's an opening. And this is where the genius of a roundabout really shines through. You see, when we choose locations for roundabouts, we're looking for a moderate amount of traffic that's using all connecting roads, which gives us a roundabout where exiting vehicles create openings for other drivers in all directions. Watch for it next time you're at a roundabout. A car exits, which lets another car enter, and that car eventually exits on and on. It's like a perpetual motion machine that's super efficient at moving cars safely. And that safety extends to pedestrians as well. Cars are already going slower, and they're yielding in both directions to pedestrians, which they should be doing everywhere, by the way. And we also have these raised islands at the entry to most roundabouts, which allow pedestrians to cross one direction at a time. First watching for exiting vehicles to yield, and then for entering vehicles to yield. If you're on a bicycle, you have 2 options at a roundabout. Follow pedestrian or bicycle paths beside the road. This is recommended for most people. Or advanced riders might choose to stay on the road. Just keep in mind that roundabouts don't really have shoulders because of the constant entering and exiting. So if you are on the road, occupy the entire lane like a car. And that's it. Fewer conflict points and slower speeds make roundabouts an efficient, safe, and not so strange option for cars, bikes, and pedestrians at Utah intersections. Another example of how UDOT keeps Utah moving safely.
I really like that video and the safety points that it makes. I think it's really easy to visualize why roundabouts are much safer and better in certain areas of the city and on our roads. That's why we put this video up on our website. It's next to the fact sheet that we've had up for some time now, and those resources are available for everybody.
Now, there's another safety reason for a roundabout in this particular area, and that's why UDOT and Spanish Fork have really pushed to get a roundabout here over a signal. Dylan, do you want to talk about that safety reason?
Yeah, for sure. This intersection's unique. Outside of all of the benefits roundabouts always give us, this intersection's unique because it's what we would consider to be a skewed intersection, where those roads don't intersect at a perfect angle. And what it creates is, as we can see in this figure, it creates somewhat of a blind corner if you're coming east on 400 North. And that blind corner can be really problematic if there's something like a traffic signal or a stop sign installed. People, if they're not expecting to stop, or they're not expecting pedestrians or vehicles to be in front of them, they'll come around that corner going really fast and end up causing crashes. So the roundabout helps with that for a number of reasons. As that video mentioned, it helps to channelize traffic, right? It puts traffic into its own place, keeps it separated from the other vehicles as much as possible, and also creates good opportunities for them to slow down. That was really important to us at this intersection because this is also a school crosswalk, and we wanted to make sure that this was as safe as possible for pedestrians. So roundabouts in general are safer. They're better for most intersections, but especially this intersection with its unique characteristics was a perfect fit for a roundabout. And that was the feedback that UDOT gave us. That was the result of our own studies. And so we really made the best decision we could at this intersection.
There's a lot of rhetoric about what the city projects are doing and the consequences that they have. But really, as you understand why we're doing the things we're doing, there's a call for more pedestrian safety and pedestrian prioritization. And there are limited tools and options that we have. And this is one of the best ones. And the reasons that we're putting so many roundabouts throughout the city is because that's a focus not only for us, but also for the residents as we make pedestrian safety a bigger priority. And that's exactly what this does.
Yeah, I love the refuge islands that it gives for pedestrians. I love how pedestrians only need to worry about traffic coming from one direction as they cross. And studies have found that roundabouts are actually a lot safer for pedestrians. So that's an important thing. Let's move on to our last topic, and that is we just want to update on the 2300 East signal. Can you tell us where that is in the process?
Yeah, for sure. I was hoping that with this update we would have news that sounded like construction noises, but we don't have that quite yet.
Now this is 2300 East Canyon Road.
Canyon Road, yep, that's right. And so Canyon Road, as everyone knows, is actually a state-owned and operated road, and one of the consequences of that is that we have to make sure that our designs for Canyon Road meet state standards. So that process just takes a little bit more time, and we're still in the middle of our design of this traffic signal. So once we get that design done later this summer, early this fall, we'll get it outlined with a contractor to build it early next year.
Yep. Well, I think that this signal is really going to help with pedestrian safety as well. A lot of kids are crossing there, especially in the summertime, to get to the neighborhood Walmart, and that's a real concern for us. So as soon as we can get that in, the better. Unfortunately, that's probably the soonest we can get it in. So.
We're going as fast as we can. That's why we actually took this project off of the state's docket and decided to run it ourselves so that we could go as fast as possible, and we're doing the best we can with it. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nick. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and explain these projects.
Yeah, I think you guys could go on and on and on about this and all the other things that are happening, but I think we'll save that for Volume 3. We'll do that sometime this fall. I think there's some really important things we'll talk about: the interchange at Drake Break Parkway between Spanish Fork and Springville, the update on the Center Street interchange, the study that's happening there, and even some of our Main Street visioning projects. Those are some things that we'll get to next time, because we need to stay within some time allotments today. So hopefully that keeps people coming back and joining us on the RoadShow. A huge shout out to Spanish Fork 17 for helping us produce this and get this on the air. We appreciate their help and making this accessible to our residents. And thank you for viewing, and we'll see you next time.